I have got the mercenary geologist back. He looks a lot like Billy Gibbons. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. And, I kind of put this on today because I've been trying to grow the ZZ Top style beard for a couple of years during the pandemic. And I'm still growing it. You notice it's not nearly as long as his, but, one of the things I get back into the real me here, I'm the mercenary geologist. So I'm always, when I go to the field, I'm in camo gear some point. So, it's part of the brand, I guess.
Well, we were visiting, and I started learning about your past, and your name is Mickey,
Yep.
Mickey Fulp, and the mercenary geologist, as cool as that name is, you might ought to be called Picky Mickey because you only pick about 2 out of 100. He only
Yeah.
picks 2 out of 100 mine. He's very picky, and he looks through them pretty close. And that's the kind of guy I'm trying to learn from because, we need all the help we can get as we're looking at these small mining stocks. And I know you've got some cool stories about the past and how.
I got lots of stories.
Yeah. Well, what was it like in the last bull market? We could start there.
Oh, it's wonderful. And it's for the last sustained bull market really was after we came out of the global economic crisis. And what really led us out of that were the big gold miners, and they started raising money and either through equity or debt in early January 2009. And something pretty unusual happened as we came out. Both gold and the US dollar, not surprisingly, were safe havens. But as gold went up, as the dollar went up, gold went up. And that's somewhat unusual. It's usually just the opposite because gold's priced in US dollars. Then we were just on a roll, and we made more money from 2009 to 2012 into, the commodities crashed in early 2013, more or less. And so that bull market was wonderful. And the thing I've learned now, I've been doing this in the junior, and I don't call them junior mining companies because 98% of them don't mine. And so we play the exploration junior resource sector. You get these wild periods, 2 to 3 years, sometimes shorter, not any longer, where you make windfall profits. And so some people in the business, I agree with it, every bull market, you add a 0 to your net wealth, and every bear market, you have that. But you're gaining all the time. You get 10 times your net wealth, and then you lose half of that back, but you're still 5 times ahead. So it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But really, the last long-lived bull market was that period. Then we had these little bull market runs led by gold in 2016 and 2020, where price of gold went up and people piled into this sector, and there were a lot of money made, but a lot of money lost because you had a lot of generalist investors come in and they hung on too long. And that's one of the things we talked about last time. It's never a bad move to take profits.
There's so much more liquidity, right? There's so much more money that has been created out of nothing. Do you think that could really make the price of these miners the next bubble? What I think is the next bubble, just like the crypto mania we saw. I think the next one's in junior mining for precious hard money that only God put in the ground. There's only so much of it. There's a finite amount, and countries are buying it up. And the U.S. government's created all this money. Do you think there could be a catastrophic knee-jerk reaction where when this thing does happen, it's just blow the top off the mining bubble of a lifetime?
Yeah, well, we've seen it. But before. We saw and it's generally these junior companies, it's usually driven by the price of gold. Toronto Venture Exchange is driven by the price of gold. Price of gold's down 15, well, even more than that, 20% off its all-time high right now, more or less. Yeah. And so there's not a lot of interest. Next time gold goes on a run, there'll be lots of people piling in the sector once again. And some of that'll be dumb money coming in at when toward the top of the market, but that's when smart people like us sell into that market. I sold stocks willy-nilly all the way from the late spring of 2020 up until early part of 2021 as that market got frothy and went crazy. Everybody's putting money into the market. I'm taking profits out of the market.
You got to look at the people that are behind the company. Like we talked about Amir Anani earlier. You mentioned GoldMining Inc.,
right.
GLDG. I'm actually about to do a promotion for those guys because it's easy to do. They're a solid company, and I know you've had some history with them as well.
Well, yeah, and so illegal royalties got taken out by Gold Royalty Inc., which was spun out of GoldMining Inc. So I've been involved with GoldMining Inc. since before it went public. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they rebranded it as GoldMining Inc. And as they became what is called a bank, and they became a gold bank. And for people who've been in the business, you'll remember Lumina Copper, which was a Ross Beatty vehicle that was a copper bank, where in bad times they acquire good exploration plays. And in GoldMining Inc.'s case, they acquired a lot of really interesting plays that have been shed by other juniors who get in dire straits. They paid stock for them. They've held on. They've advanced some of them. But the bottle is when it gets good again and the market gets crazy and what we call frothy, there'll be a bunch of juniors coming in looking for projects, and then they start selling them for cash or shares in juniors, and the returns will be phenomenal. I can't tell you when that's going to happen because we really need a bull market for them to execute. But one thing about GoldMining Inc. is throughout its history, this team led by Amir Adnani has continually rewarded its long-term dedicated shareholders. So I can't think of a private placement they've done that even if stock goes down, then you'll make money on that financing. Right now, I own warrants that for GoldMining Inc., 75-cent warrants I exercised, and I don't know what it's trading at.
84 cents, I believe.
84 cents. And, I'm not saying, but it's probably a pretty good price for it. Look at the chart, what it was during August of 2020 when the gold went to all-time record, $2,063.
Yeah, $2.77.
Yeah. So, I sold in some shares into that, but I still maintain a position. What you can do if you got a big enough position, it takes some money to do this, is you have a core position, long-term position, and then you have your trading position where you move in and out as the stock goes up and down. Hey, and I should also say that GLDG has been a sponsor of my website off and on for the last 10 or 11 years. So when that happens, they actually pay me to write and talk about the company. I'm not getting paid by them right now, but I am a shareholder. So I'm biased, and keep that in mind too. So contrarianism, and I know as most of us are, Rick Rule is pretty good friend of mine, and he says, and I don't know if he's a first, he goes, if you're not a contrarian in this business, then you're a victim. So we try to be contrarian. When people are selling, we're buying, and vice versa.
And that's, he's invested in GLDG. Doug
Oh,
Casey's invested in
absolutely.
GLDG.
For
These guys aren't dumb.
probably as long as I have, since it was Brazil Resources. And they got some copper too, so nothing wrong with that.
So we've got 16.2 million ounces.
No, well, that's M&I measured and inferred, and then so you add that up, that's 32.4 million ounces. They're not able to run those numbers in, but we can. We're not constrained, but inferred are the lowest level resources, and you don't know enough about those to be able to evaluate them economically. So they can't be included in a pre-feasibility study, and that's probably a gold equivalent. So that includes the copper too. So yeah, it is multi-million ounce gold equivalent resource. So they do a factor on the value of copper and call it a gold equivalent.
Okay. And the Gold Royalty Corporation, that to me is kind of like icing on the cake. It's like it's there, it's ready, it's waiting. There's nothing that has to be done. Is that kind of how you feel about it?
Well, they're building a bigger royalty company. So just as, they're building a bigger uranium company with Uranium Energy Corp. So, but the nice thing about Gold Royalty Corp, they're giving you a dividend. So I get a check from them every quarter, or not a check, it's cash goes in my brokerage account. But and it's growing. So they keep adding royalties. I told you they acquired illegal royalties, which was a small Nevada and Quebec, Nevada a royalty company, and a prospect generator in Nevada, and exploration guy Jerry Baughman, Jerry Boffman, I've known him for 20 or 25 or 30 years, and he's the best prospector, I think, in all of Nevada. Landman too, so so they've all rolled into Gold Royalty Corp, and and it's down too now. So these are the kind of companies, and I'm not gonna tout them specifically, but these two we're looking at right here are strong companies, and those might be the ones to buy.
And this gold royalty, you get this with GLDG. It's part of the deal. That's what I like about it.
Right. So GoldMining Inc. owns 15% of Gold Royalty Corp. So
20 million in GROY at 510. So it's less than that now. They've got 1.1 in cash on the sidelines. There's several wealthy people that are well known in the mining industry that hold this company. The stock ticker is GLDG, and I would think you'd be doing good to check them out, look them over. Don't take my advice. There's no financial advice here. It's only, hey, look at this. When these things start to run, they are really going to rip. And I cannot imagine buying miners other than when they're going down. It's, I've done that several times where I watch it go down, and then it shoots up there, and I don't want to buy because I've already seen it go down here. So if I take little bites on the way down, it's just easier for me to somehow to deal with it psychologically.
Well, and that's what we call stink bids. So you buy a tranche, and if it goes down, then you below market, you put in stink bids below that, open orders, and you keep accumulating. Now, one thing I'll mention is both these companies trade in New York on the American exchange. So when I have the ability to buy in the US, that's where I buy them. So you can buy them on the Toronto Stock Exchange, but it's just, for me, I'd rather buy them in US dollars. Those are more stable markets. US market's more stable, certainly. Now, they trade in conjunctions, and so they're not much of an arbitrage, but I follow those two stocks on the American Stock Exchange now. And as companies upgrade their listings, if they get an American Stock Exchange listing, then in my brokerage account, I'll move those over to the US side. So I'm trading them in US dollars, and generally, not always, but there's more liquidity on the US side than there is on the Canadian side.
As people in the community are talking back and forth, and we're going to try to keep this information coming. And any shortages I see, any kind of food shortage, any kind of investment opportunity, and maybe some ones you haven't thought about before, I'm going to try to follow and pay attention to what the wealthy people are doing, because they leave clues. The wealthy people leave clues, and you can that's what got me into rental properties, is the wealthy were leaving clues like, hey, this is what Congress and the wealthy do. Why buy gold and silver? Well, because that's what huge powers like China and Russia.
The central banks are buying gold. Right?
Yeah. And for some reason, people think it's going to be worthless when the digital currency gets here. And it doesn't make any sense to me. That will probably never be the case. If it is, it's the first time in human history when gold and silver is worthless.
Oh, man, it ain't going to be worthless, I don't think.
Yeah, well, me neither.
Gold's been money since the dawn of human civilization. I make the case.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is a different kind of stock review. I thought it was a great idea to interview Mickey Fulp about this. He's just been in the sector for so long, and he's familiar with the company. If you're interested in seeing more of what GLDG has to offer, GoldMining Inc., it'll be in the description. I'll pin it in the comments, and I think you'd be doing well to check them out. So have an awesome, awesome day, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Later.